What's the funniest thing my daughter said during my labor? By the time I got to the hospital, I'd already decided I was never doing this again. I was 9 months pregnant with our second baby, contractions 5 minutes apart, and my husband Ethan kept saying things like, "You're doing amazing," which was sweet, but also made me want to throw a pillow at him. Our 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, had begged to be there. She'd watched every big sister video on YouTube and proudly announced, "I'm mature enough to witness childbirth." I wasn't convinced, but the hospital had approved it, and she refused to miss the biggest day of her life. Fast forward 12 hours. I'd been in labor forever. The nurse smiled and said, "You're finally at 10 centimeters. I asked. Out of, she smiled wider. 10, great. I'd officially unlocked the final boss. The doctor walked in. "Okay, Mom, on the next contraction, give me your biggest push." I grabbed the bed rails with both hands. The contraction hit. I screamed so loudly the monitor actually shook. Sophie slowly looked around the room before whispering, "Is she okay?" My husband nodded. "She's just in pain." Sophie tilted her head. I thought people only made those sounds in zombie movies. The nurse had to bite her lip to stop laughing. Another contraction slammed into me. I pushed again. The doctor encouraged me. "Perfect. Keep going." Sophie looked horrified. Wait, this is the good part? Everyone laughed. Except me. I was too busy reconsidering every decision I'd ever made. A few minutes later, the doctor smiled. I can see the baby's head. Sophie's eyes got huge. "Already?" She leaned forward just enough to peek, then immediately covered her mouth. Oh, there was a long silence. Finally, she whispered, "I thought babies came out looking newer?" Even I laughed through the pain. The doctor calmly explained that newborns sometimes look a little squished at first. Sophie nodded seriously. "So, he's downloading his face?" The resident doctor completely lost it. He had to turn around because he was laughing too hard. Another push. Another scream. I accidentally grabbed my husband's wrist so hard he yelped. Sophie looked at him. "Dad, you did this. You should probably apologize." He immediately said, "I'm so sorry." I yelled, "Not good enough!" The entire delivery room burst into laughter. Finally, one last push. A tiny cry filled the room. The nurse placed my son on my chest. I immediately started crying. He was perfect. Sophie stepped closer. She studied him from every angle. Then she frowned. "Why does he look like a tiny old man?" The doctor smiled. "Most newborns do." She nodded thoughtfully. "So he'll grow into being a baby?" Nobody could answer because everyone was laughing again. A little later, while the nurses were measuring him, Sophie quietly walked over. She stared at the scale. 7 pounds? She looked back at me. "Mom, you've been carrying around a bowling ball, even through the exhaustion." I couldn't stop laughing. About an hour later, things finally settled.